welcome back to the Sarai show. So last night I had a panic attack. I didn't see it coming, but in hindsight, the signs were there. I think I've had enough to where I can kind of know, but it doesn't happen until after the fact. And I think the scariest part about anxiety when you're high functioning, like you're still able to do things while you're experiencing it, you don't always realize that you're drowning until your head's already under. It wasn't one of those clear trigger situations. I don't really get the triggers. It wasn't like something traumatic happened or someone said something awful to me. Uh, I wasn't even in a bad mood. I was winding down for the day, trying to decompress. I was thinking I was doing fine. And that's the thing I want to talk about today, especially for my fellow veterans or anyone living with PTSD or anxiety related conditions. What happens when stress builds up quietly over days or weeks and then hits you all at once? Because that's exactly what happened to me. And when it hits, it doesn't always make sense to the outside world, even if people are aware of your condition. It can look very irrational. It can look dramatic and sometimes even a little ridiculous. But to you, the person going through it, in your nervous system, it feels like life or death. So here's what happened in my case. I was sitting at home, nothing out of the ordinary, scrolling on my phone, just existing. And I get a ring notification, one of those ring neighborhood app notifications that said stray dog nearby, possibly aggressive. And there were pictures of the dog. Now, for most people, maybe that's worth a quick pause, maybe even some concern. But for me, that's not just a stray dog. That's danger. That's threat detection. That's okay. How do I adjust my walking route from now on? What time do I walk tomorrow? Is my current gear enough? What if something happens to my dogs? And to be clear, I already don't leave the house without proper protection. And this is actually my little bag that I carry. But in here, I have pepper spray. I have my air horn. I have my handheld taser, a walking stick that's also a taser, my little taser baton. Yeah, that's five. And yes, I know that sounds extreme, but when you live with persistent fear, especially fear related to protecting yourself and others, it doesn't feel like overkill. It feels like preparation. But even with all that preparation, that tiny notification cracked the door open for my anxiety to rush in. And once it's in, it's loud. It doesn't whisper, it yells. So here's how the spiral usually works for me. And maybe this is something you relate to. So after I read that notification, I try to distract myself. I switched over to TikTok thinking, let me just watch something funny, something light before I go to bed. The first few videos were fine. They were pretty harmless. A couple silly dogs, someone baking bread, some guy ranting about the gym. But then, bam, one of those funny gone dark videos hits me and it just shows up and I can't stop watching. It was this man sticking his finger in a vicious dog's butthole. Yes, I know how that sounds, but he was trying to stop it from killing a smaller dog. And it worked, by the way. But I didn't process it as, oh, cool, the dog got saved. Or, oh, how funny and gross the way that the video was intended. My brain just went straight to, what if that was Bear? What if that was Lily? What if that was Tucker? Would I be fast enough? What would I do? Hopefully, not the butthole thing, but what if None of my gear worked. What if the other dog didn't stop after whipping out every self defense weapon I have? And so now I'm like in it. I'm spiraling. I start Googling new non lethal weapons that maybe came out and I just haven't, read about, I don't know about yet. I'm watching reviews on dog deterrence. I find five more tasers I don't already own and I buy them immediately on Amazon. I'm pacing the house, mentally walking through every possible scenario. What if it's night? What if there are multiple dogs? What if I'm walking all three of mine at the same time, which, happens a lot? What if I drop one of the leashes? What if my gear fails me? What if it's a human attacker? And it's exhausting. Um, and this is the part that people don't see. This is what it actually means to spiral. That's what's happening internally. That's what's happening in your brain. You're not really sitting there with a checklist like, oh, yes, my PTSD is flaring up. You're reacting, obsessively trying to get ahead of something that hasn't even happened and it might never happen. And then your body catches up. Mine definitely did later that night. Tight chest, shallow breathing, couldn't get comfortable in any position. I felt like I was vibrating or buzzing under my skin. And eventually, the full panic attack did hit. I hadn't had one in weeks. And so I share all of this because I think it's important to normalize the less visible parts of mental health, especially for veterans like me, people who have been trained to be hyper aware, hyper prepared, and never show weakness. This kind of internal collapse feels like failure, but it's not. It's your body just waving the white flag saying, I've been holding it together for too long. You need a break. And if you don't pause, it will pause you. And so that's what last night was for me. So today, of course, I took it a little easier. So here's what I try to remember when I'm not too deep in it to use the tools that actually help me in the moment. So I do a lot of body based grounding, not just breathing exercises, but like cold water on the face, sometimes holding an ice cube, physical anchors to remind my nervous system that I'm safe. And it also helps distract the mind. Mantras, once I can actually believe when I'm spiraling, I use we're safe, everyone is safe. You've gotten through this before, remember? Also, tactile movement. So I pace, but when I catch myself, I try to walk intentionally. Sometimes I hold my dog's leashes inside the house just to feel control again, or not sometimes, but like yesterday, because of what caused the panic, I did it. And also voice notes to myself. Seriously, I record myself saying what's happening. It helps me see the spiral for what it is. And playback later shows me how far I've come. I don't always remember to use these. When the spiral is bad, like last night, my brain doesn't offer those options. It offers chaos and Amazon Prime, and that's okay. You're not going to be able to stop every single one. We're not meant to perfectly manage anxiety every single time. We're meant to recognize it so that next time, maybe we catch it a little sooner. If you live with PTSD, anxiety, depression, especially if you're a veteran, I want you to know something. You're not weak because your brain reacts this way. You're not dramatic. You're not broken. You're just human. And your nervous system has been through more than most people can imagine. There's no shame in needing five tasers. There's no shame in spiraling when you can't stop yourself. There's no shame in saying, I don't think I'm okay right now. There is strength in sharing it though, because the more we talk about what these episodes actually look like and what they look like individually, instead of like everybody gets triggers or everybody acts a certain way, the more there's room for people to stop pretending they're fine when they're not. If this sounds like you or someone you love, share the tips I talked about. And if you relate, share how anxiety shows up for you. Do you have triggers or specific subjects or places that you avoid? And if you're a veteran out here trying to live life, protect your peace, and just have normalcy, you are doing so much better than you think. I will see you guys in the next one.